scholarship night at the high school. I guess it's last week, right? Last week, yeah.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tracy Severance. She is going to give us our presentation on our strategic plan. Tracy works not only on our strategic plan as a consultant for us through this process, but she also works very closely with our teachers and administrators. She is the guru of data and how to link that to instruction. So we appreciate her tutelage and also the time that she spends with our teachers and administrators. So I'll turn it over to you.
So much to be proud of. I love seeing the students' faces and to honor their accomplishments. Awesome. So thank you for welcoming me back. I'm very pleased to be here this evening to share with you the findings from what has been an extensive process. So first, just let me make sure everyone can hear me. Are you all right? You can hopefully see everything's good. Welcome everyone, and of course Board of Education members. Again, I appreciate the honor and opportunity of seeking to serve the district in this way, to help set a course for your future. So, dramatic.
Gotta press hard.
That's hard. This is dramatic.
Welcome, this is Dr. Seth Collins.
Oh.
Can you read that?
21.
Okay. All right, let's see. Cross fingers. You're there. Okay. So I think we skipped the first slide before this. That's all right. Why don't I just tell you what it said? That slide said, what was the purpose? The purpose of this work was to create a plan that will guide Manchester Township School District's efforts to achieve the mission, vision, and goals of the community. The next slide was what was the process. And for this, we hosted in-person input sessions with student representatives from grades 3 to 12, faculty members from every school, certificated and non-certificated, were always invited. We also had a large forum for caregivers and community members. We also conducted a district-wide survey. We aggregated and analyzed the feedback and input, and then synthesized the findings into recommended goals. So the timeline for the process was this. In December, you may recall that I was here, and should I start? So in December, we introduced the process for the board. In January, we identified a plan, a process, and a timeline. In February, I had a session with administrators. In March, we started our sessions with students, faculty, and community members. In April, we developed and distributed a survey. In May, we analyzed the data, and it was quite extensive, given the degree of participation of the community. And then in June, here we are to present the goals and the action plans or drafts of those thoughts around the goals to the Board of Education and community members. In terms of the timeline itself, we were in Ridgeway, Whiting, Regional Day, Manchester Elementary, the high school, the middle school, and we had our community forum on March 16th. Let's crack. So have you heard the one about the what you did.
One more second.
Would it be easier if I give you a PDF?
I put something else.
It'll still. Tracy, you've given us so much information.
Bernard, can you text them?
Let me try.
Zoom session, I think.
Yeah.
So Tracy, this is the one you have to be admin, so it's slightly different. Much bigger now. Chris, I have a dongle, if you just have the USB.
Yeah.
Dr. Severs, would you be okay if we continue with the board meeting, and then what we'll do is, once we have everything fired up, we'll make it back up. Thank you. We appreciate your flexibility.
All right, so we'll go to the report of our military ambassador, who is not here tonight. Does he have anything you want to share? Please.
Can I stand right here?
We need to come over with the microphone. so we can hear you. Yes.
I just want to thank you all for the principals, the administrative school, teachers, officials, everybody who participated in the air show, and also for coming out to the Parade of Breeze. All the events that we had in the last couple of weeks, we very much appreciate the community's engagement and involvement. Thank you, thank you. But that's all I have.
All right, now we have the report from our student government representative, Ms. Allison Gilbert. Oh. That says Allison Gilman. I did read it.
That sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay. Alexis, right? Okay. Alexis, I stand corrected. Go for it.
No?
Yeah, you're right next to it.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie Cernak. I am the Executive Student Government Vice President at the Manchester High School. The reason that I'm using your time is to provide the board with some current information about the activities and events that have occurred or being planned at the high school since the May meeting. The department awards were held on June 1st. The senior awards night was held on June 6th. Everyone there was very thankful for the scholarships they received. The district arts festival on June 7th had a huge turnout. The Booster Athletic Center was a great success last night, as well as the Special Someone Dance on June 4th. Had a great turnout and it was a great time. The Junior Prom was held on June 2nd at the Short Club, great success, as well as the Senior Prom on June 9th at the Mainland in Manhattan. As an administrator, the next year's student government were officially sworn in. And the upcoming events are the graduation held on the 21st, 3:30 for the middle school, and 6:30 for the high school. Thank you for letting me represent the MTSD student government and board meetings. I want to stand for you all and share the best we did not going to involving yesterday's high school. Thank you, Jenna.
The awards, you have the awards, and what are your future plans?
I'm attending Stockton in the fall to study health sciences, conservation, and occupational therapy.
Very good. All right, Ms. Lorenzen, may I have your report, please?
Are we back up?
Yeah.
All right, we're back to presentation.
We're back.
All right, okay.
I think we were here.
Yes, yep. Is that, so are you advancing or am I?
You have the control.
Okay. I
If you need me, I'm here. I'll be back up.
Perfect. So as we were saying, we visited each school, we talked with faculty, we talked with students, as you know, we had the community event, and we took some pictures. And what I wanted to be sure to communicate to you was the seriousness with which students engaged in this. The kids were completely in. They were invested, they were involved, they appreciated being asked. And just to remind you, well, I'll go over that in a moment, what it did. So this was with our elementary students. As you can see, they had a chance to do some thinking. They were allowed to, of course, talk with each other, and they were sharing their findings, their thoughts, their feelings about how to create schools that serve them well. We did that at each of the elementary schools. This was we have our elementary schools, and the middle school. So the middle school was right in this room, and the students approached this with great, they were completely invested. They were very serious about it. They had a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, and we listened to them. We were at the high school also, but the only thing I had from the high school was a video, so I didn't put it in. What I did then is I took all of the feedback from all of the students, and I organized that, I tabulated it, and then synthesized it into findings by level. So this is what we have from the students at Manchester Elementary Schools. This represents the input of all of the schools, of all of the students at all the elementary schools. And there are certain themes that emerge. And I'd like to draw your attention to some of those and invite you to consider how those themes reappear through the levels. So at the elementary school, students talked about the importance of connection. Ways to connect to kids outside of their class, to the adults, to kids in other grades. They talked about, the big kids helping the little kids, really creating that sense of family so that they learn and they know the people who are outside of their own classroom. They talked about better and longer lunch. They talked about celebrations that include more than just athletics. Things like the artist of the month, opportunities to move around, as well as opportunities to be calm and quiet. They talked about the importance of care, about making sure that there's connections, a sense of belonging. They talk about even more buddies, less bullies, bringing the buddy bench back, ways to connect to other students. What you see on the right is the other half. So when I meet with the students, I ask them two things. I say to them that I believe that a great school does two things really well. First, it has a sense of heart, of connection, that every student feels known, noticed, valued, loved. So what could we do to create a school with more connection? And some of those were the things I just shared with you. What you see on the right were in response to, if you could convey a message to the teachers so that you are taught in ways that you learn best, what would you want to say? And what you see there on the right are things like choices. Students want more influence over what they learn, how they learn, where they learn, and with whom they learn, meaning by myself, with a partner, or with a group. They want more fun ways to learn. And I want to be really careful in clarifying something. They're not talking about vacuous fun, like games for game's sake. They're talking about ways to engage their curiosity, to think deeply about things. And if there was a recurrent theme, it was not for work to be more frivolous or easy, it was more challenged. Kids really like to be challenged. They want to think deeply about the things that they're learning. They talked about more challenge, more support, more time, more options, and more comfortable furniture when it comes to their chairs, the desks, and where they learn. And you'll notice some similarities when I went to the middle school. So in the middle school, again, look at the top on the left, lunch. Middle school kids like to eat. They talked about other, maybe healthier options. And again, this doesn't mean it's a dig on cafeteria, but I think kids want some voice in the food, the choices. Some of the students were very interested in more vegan options. More school events, celebrations, fun events, people who come together for celebrations that are, again, not just sports, meaningful interactions with students and other adults, recognition, connections, and both opportunities for active engagement as well as calm. When you look on the right, here again is that recurrent theme of choice, or choices regarding what they learn, how they learn, where they learn, with whom they learn. They wrote, and this was a quote by one of the students, more engaging lessons. They want a certain pulse in the classroom, certain enthusiasm and excitement, perhaps not surprisingly, fewer tests and homework. I would have been surprised if they said the opposite. We want more tests and more homework. But they want the learning experience to be more informed, perhaps less by tests per se, than demonstrations of learning. Let me show you what I know how to do. Again, a more comfortable learning environment. They want time with their teachers. Many times we see middle school kids kind of walk around and they're like too cool for school, but they really do want one-to-one time with their teachers. They talked about the grading system and an interest in better ESL. When you look at the high school, we see again on the left, meaningful connections with events that include all students. Student voice, choice, input and decision, like assembly, like programs, like the schedule, like the day. They spoke specifically of an interest in more mental health supports, cultural understanding. This was a couple of quotes. Two students said this: empathetic teachers who know boundaries. Isn't that interesting? They want people who are reaching out, but also know where the lines are, if you will. On the right, more instructional options. What, how, with whom. They're interested in real life. This was something that came up often with high school. Opportunities to pursue post-secondary goals that may not be college. It might be training. It might be other work opportunities. They're looking for more engaging, creative instruction, support, communication, more comfortable environment. And again, I guess what came up is a second look at the grading system, homework and tests, and then ESL also came up. So we met with the students. As I said, I have all of that information specific for each principal, as well as aggregated by level. Then we met with the teachers. Now, when we met with our adults, those were not the two questions I asked of them. As you may recall or be aware through your own participation in the community forum, the 5 questions that we asked all the adults were these. What do you see as the strengths? In in Manchester Township? What are you really proud of? The second question is, what do you see as the weaknesses? Where are the spaces between what is and what could be? The third question is, what do you see as the opportunities to leverage the resources that exist within and outside the district to advance the district? The fourth question is, what do you see as the internal threats, things within the district that may pose challenges to our efforts to improve? Finally, what do you see as the external threats? If you look at the larger context within which Manchester exists, what do you see as some of the challenges there? So we met with teachers in a format that looks a lot like speed dating. So everyone spoke. What I think is so powerful about this format is it requires 100% participation, 100% engagement, and has 100% transparency. Everything that was shared was aggregated, placed on a big poster, and reported out to everyone in the room. There was no opportunity for any editing. It is right there, it's real, it's live, it's in front of you. So the teachers took all of their findings, folded them together, put them on those posters, which I took home and honored. I typed them exactly as they appeared. And that was part of the input data from the adults. We did the same at the middle school. At the high school, we had a lot of folks in the room for that. We did the same, this was also the high school, with the community. And I have to say kudos to the community as a reflection of the degree of commitment to the school district. We had 188 people drop the mic. I've never had so many people come out. Look at the rooms. In fact, there were so many people, we needed to have 2 stations for each of those same 5 questions. So the community folded those findings together and reported out to all of the people in the room. Transparency is very important. I took all those posters home, again, typed them exactly as they appeared. I then synthesized those findings by question. What do you consider a strength? Now, I would like you to take note of the fact that I have deliberately sequenced these items in a way that will help you see the similarities and differences when you look at what the faculty said, as well as in relation to what the community had to say. So I tried to organize them so that it would lend itself to an easier comparison, if you will. And I think what you will notice is a high degree of alignment between what the, if you will, the adults within the school district said, as well as the community at large. Here are the weaknesses, so to speak, the space between what is and what isn't. One of the things that you might notice is that in some places, things are identified in the data as both a strength and a weakness. So depending on your vantage point, depending on your experiences, you may see it differently. But what was interesting are the themes that emerged and how we can use those in our goals. What do you see as the opportunities? What people expressed interest in is communication and collaboration, and this is what you would want to hear from community members and faculty members. What do you see as the internal threats? If there was a theme that was very concurrent with the data, it's the challenges of working with and supporting a shifting demographic, a changing community. Because people want to be sure to be able to serve and support all of the students. How do we manage the nature of the changes that we are seeking to deal with? So again, we can see on both sides where there are consistencies and where there are differences. In terms of the external threats, what was really interesting to me is if you look at these, they are almost identical point by point. Point for point. There's a great deal of constancy in the recognition that this is the larger culture and context that we're working with, and it is challenging. So now we have the results of the survey. So I want to reassure you that you don't need to be able to see the fine print. I'm going to follow each slide with the data that's presented a little larger so you can see it. 451 responses. I was saying, someone asked me, how many? 451. I've never anywhere ever had 451 responses to the survey. Where's Dean? She's like, doing the happy dance. So, I mean, this is extraordinary. This really is extraordinary. So in terms of who we heard from, this is who the people said they were. And you'll see that 3 times the number, just about, of parents and faculty responded. This shows you the distribution of who answered the survey, which is your school, so to speak, which school are you affiliated with? Here are the outcomes. This blew my mind. So I've done this work in a number of districts. I have never seen data that shows such incredible stability over time. So when we ask people, how long have you lived or worked in Manchester? Look at the size of that green piece of pie. Almost 70% of the respondents have deep roots, have been here a long time. When I have done strategic planning in other districts that are experiencing more change, they become more accustomed to dealing with change because it's been in flux for a long time. There is a deep history, deep roots. There was great appreciation for this district, for what it has done, what it's doing now, and its hope for the future. This was very powerful in terms of looking, and I would bet that if we ask people, have you been here more than 15 years or 20 years? What do you think? We find a significant number of people who have been here a lifetime, who are deeply connected to the district. I know that's hard to see, don't worry, I'm going to show it to you. I'm just staying true to the slides. This was the original that was talking about the overall impression of the schools. And once again, the degree of consistency across schools was very surprising to me because I've rarely seen it. If you look at the relative height of the blue and red that shows relative dissatisfaction, it's very comparable. So there's a high degree of satisfaction with the elementary schools and consistency across elementary schools. At the secondary level, you see a picture that's very consistent with what I have found in every district I've worked with. Secondary schools find it harder to have as high levels of satisfaction. Does that surprise anyone? It just seems to be that at the secondary level, more things are going on, and still, the middle school and high school were highly supported. There's a high level of satisfaction and very similar. This, as I'm sure you can see, just kidding. This was asking what priority do you place upon the questions that people were asked to respond to. So what you see on the left was when I used the highest rating, a high priority. That was the question. So on the left is when people were asked, what do you see as a high priority? What I have on the right are the totals out of 451 when you add high and moderate. And I'd like you to notice what happens in those two lists. Do you notice the green numbers, the top 3? They're the same in both lists. There's just one shift in position and it's very small. Look at the second tier where the numbers kind of clumped. They're again the same 3, but in a little bit of a different order. The bottom 4 are in precisely the same order. Again, there was a large degree of consistency across groups. This is 451 people. These are the outcomes of the survey. So these are used to inform those goal areas. So the next question was, what do you see as your preferred method of communication? And these are pretty straightforward, so I'm going to go a little more swiftly. The next one, what priority do you place on an early learning center? Now, when I analyze the data, you see the number 3? Number 3 is like neutral. That's like Switzerland. They're not taking a side or a stand. So what I do for 5 choice Likert scale is I add the top two and the bottom two. Here's what we found. Did the same with an intermediate school. Looked at the top two and the bottom two, and that's the split, so to speak. The next question asks about before and after care. That's what we found. Would you be willing to volunteer? Pretty straightforward. People would be willing to volunteer just as a volunteer through the PTA, the Education Association, or who felt it was not applicable. Transportation, we had a couple of transportation questions. It's interesting to see that pie kind of cut in very comparable thirds in terms of do you currently rely on the late bus? Yes, no, not applicable. How satisfied are you with the start and end times? It was interesting when I talked to the high school students, they weren't quite as gung-ho about the start time. They said to me, it's too early, we're not even awake. But apparently parents want them on the bus early. So how satisfied are you? There you go. Now when it came to the survey, so here's what I did. We had the survey. Again, we had a large number of respondents. We had 451 people who wrote about strengths and 357 people who wrote about challenges. What I did was to highlight the point in each person's response. I then tallied each of those for every time it appeared. So if someone wrote a comment and that comment had two different strengths, it appears twice. Are you with me on that? So these aren't separate people, but each time they said or touched on that theme, I counted it. So I want you to keep in mind the larger number who completed the survey. So here are the strengths. What's the first thing that stands out to you? Oh, and goodness. Never, ever, ever, anywhere have I seen such incredible support and appreciation for staff. And I want to point out that includes administration, that includes non-certificated. The folks at Regional Day, for example, talked about the paras. This is everyone who is employed by this district. And I would say kudos to you for attracting and retaining people who are clearly serving the people in ways that they greatly appreciate. So then you see the other ones. And again, I tally each time that they were mentioned. What do you see as the strength? Ooh, look at that fourth one, administration. Ooh, ooh. You know, oftentimes we hear the negative things, but there's a great deal of appreciation for the service and the work of our administrators. Right? Communication, collaboration, parents, and so forth. This was over and over and over and over. The recurrent themes in the strengths was Manchester has heart. Manchester shows up for each other. If there is a time of crisis, there are issues that we rally. It was striking to see the degree of just closeness in a district of this size. That's very rare. And people appreciate the small, close-knit community, which, from my assessment of the data, is also presenting a challenge as the community changes. People worry and wonder perhaps what will happen as our community is in this place of change. Then we asked, what do you see as the biggest challenges? And I'm going to note again, there were 357 people who wrote comments. And each time there was these themes, I separated them and tallied. So the information is there for you to see. On the next page. And so it's important to put the responses and the findings in the larger context. What do we notice? What do we find? This was my personal favorite. Get on that way. Come on. I've heard great stories about groundhogs that, where was it, Whiting, that's from the branch. Great thing. See that. Anyway, you have to have a little sense of humor before, right? Okay, here we go. Now what? Present findings to the board, offering recommendations for goals, a goal setting process and action planning, and to support the development of a 3-year plan on a page that would be nimble enough to respond and things change over time, concise enough that you could get your arms around it. People would really know that it would be backed up by a more developed strategic plan with action items. So that pretty much concludes my portion of just aggregating, analyzing, and presenting to you the findings in the district. I think there's a lot to be proud of. I think there are opportunities. And I think what's really encouraging is you have the right people to make those things. So I want to thank you.
And then the 3 goal areas that we've identified as we analyze the data, and this will be a more comprehensive plan that you'll see next month. The first one was to enhance communication within the district, between the district and the community, and among all stakeholder groups. So we have a team of administrators that are working on getting everything down on paper, so that way it will become more of our comprehensive plan. The second is to strengthen the climate and culture of the district. And the third is to increase student achievement and provide an environment that fosters student voice, engagement, and agency. So those are the 3 areas that we're going to be developing that plan, and I look forward to being able to present that to the community and to the Board of Education at our July meeting. Do any of the board members have questions for Dr. Severance? Tracy, again, I want to thank you for all your time and your guidance. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Okay, we now return back to our agenda. Mr. Lorenzen, I believe you're up.
All right, just a couple things related to agenda items. We have we're asking the board to approve a contract to Metro to purchase cafeteria equipment. This district is, the school district is not, we're not permitted to carry our fund balances in our cafeteria fund. Most of the fund balance we generated was during the COVID years. They were giving us more money for meal reimbursements. We were able to feed every kid a meal. So we generated some fund balance over those couple of years. So we are required to spend it or we have to give it back. So what we are doing, we are targeting some of our old equipment throughout the district in our kitchens, and we're looking to replace it. You'll notice if you have the agenda in front of you, session 1 is significantly larger than it typically is at a board meeting. That's because we have all of our procedural things that we have on the agenda for the upcoming school year. There are certain things that we have to approve each year, operational things, professionals, how the township pays us, their tax levy, those types of things. So you'll see all those things on the agenda tonight. Again, most of these are operational appointments, things like that, standard things that we typically do from year to year. So they're on the agenda tonight as well. We are asking the board to approve the funding for our Every Student Succeeds Act, which was formerly NCLB, for the 23-24 school year. The curriculum department is in the process now of developing a grant based on funding. We did receive $75,000 last year. That is primarily because we have seen a decrease in enrollment, so we did get a little less funding this year. There is a resolution on the agenda to withdraw some money out of our district maintenance reserve. The maintenance reserve is generated over years and years of budgets. And some of that we put back into the budget, some of that we put into these reserves for things that we cannot include in our local budget. So we're asking the board to approve a withdrawal of $266,000 from that reserve to address some facilities things in the district. We are looking to do concrete repairs at Whiting Elementary and the middle school out front here and the high school. We're looking to do some flooring in the high school, Whiting, Ridgeway, and MTSD. And we're also doing some modification to the security vestibule at MTSD so that we can accommodate our new visitor management program. And then lastly, there's a resolution on the agenda. If we do have any surplus available this year, I am asking the board to approve or authorize me to make a deposit into our capital reserve if there are funds available. I don't think we are going to have much this year, but whatever we have, if there's an opportunity to put some money into the reserve accounts.
Thank you very much. All right, we now appoint our meeting where we have public participation for agenda items only. If you have any questions about anything that's on the agenda, please come forward, state your name, who you live, and what your question might be for anything that's on the agenda. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close that. Do we have any board member reports or business correspondence? Any of those? Any board member reports?
I just want to say that all those involved in the district art show did a phenomenal job. It was a nice night out. So nice to see all the student work. It's unbelievable how talented some of our students are. So good job to everybody who was involved in that process.
And I just want to say, I attended the regional day school 40th anniversary as well as the graduation. I loved the graduation, just tears streaming down my eyes. These kids and these teachers are just incredibly phenomenal.
Angels without wings.
Unbelievable. It really is so heartwarming. And I really appreciate being part of this and being able to say that we have such a marvelous school within our group of students. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Any old business correspondence?
We have no old business, no correspondence.
All right, we move on to the action part of our meeting. Section 1A, new business, number 1 through 4. Need a motion? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Servant. Yes. Mrs. Winkler.
Yeah.
Mrs. Virgiano.
Yeah.
Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Keys.
Yes.
Mrs. Smell.
Yes.
Mr. B.
Yes. B, contracts and waivers, numbers 1 through 6. I need a motion.
Actually, right now we have as consent agenda, so we'll go from B through the end of this.
B through B, C. C is 1 through 26. D is 1 through 56.
It'll end.
What do you want to move? Is it into
So
N?
it'll end.
B and C?
It'll go to item B.
D and C.
Well, no, it'll go all the way through the end of the agenda, end of section.
Yeah, that B and C. Right?
And then page 15.
It ends on page 50.
Yeah. So B is numbers 1 through 6, and C is 1 through 26.
Yeah, correct, okay.
All right. I need a motion then, please.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion on any of these, or any questions on any of these?
One question on 25. Do we want to put people's names on here? With those estimated
I could check, I'm not sure if we have to, because I know when we do contracts with the county, we have to have their names.
I know to the whole community know that this kid goes to Oxford School. Like, I don't know, I'm going to the page of it, right?
I will see, I will check and see if that's required, if it's not required, we can fix it.
You're just like referring to like parent and student number or
Yeah,
something that.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All right, call for roll call, please.
Mr. Keller.
Yes.
Mrs. Servant. Mrs. Winkler.
Yeah.
Mrs. Virginia. Ms. Weinstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Keys.
Yes.
Ms. Mount.
Yes.
And Mr.
Yes. Section 2A, administrators, number 1 through 14. Need a motion, please?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion?
Number 2, giving you permission to hire for our next board meeting. Do you have a lot of vacancies? Do you know how many people you have to anticipate hiring?
So the reason why I'm asking for this, and I'll continue to ask through the summer, is that some of these critical need positions, like our high school special education chemistry positions, special education teachers, anything that's a critical need, when we post it, we want to be able to interview and offer positions as fast as possible, because we do know that other districts are also interviewing as well.
Do you have a lot of openings that you anticipate?
Right now, I would say we have between 4 and 5 openings.
Pretty low. Okay, anyone else? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Keller.
Yes, I will be abstaining on 9 through 14.
Mr. Surback? Yes. Mrs. Weaver?
On those number 7, abstain from 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah.
Yes, everyone else? Ms. Georgiana?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Peters?
Yes.
And Ms. Now?
Abstain on number 10. And yes on everything else.
And Mr. Page?
Got it, there.
Sorry.
Yes, 1 through 8, abstain, 9 through 14. All right, B, personnel, 1 through 56.
Okay, just before we, actually, let's get a motion. And then,
Yeah, you did that first. All right, need a motion, please?
Motion?
Second.
All right,
So we have one correction and we have one addition. Okay, so our one correction is on item number 53. It will be corrected to say approve suspension of pay for employee number meeting effective June 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. Then we also have one that we have to read in. This would be new number 57. Approve the decision of the superintendent of schools to monitor the employee 902.
all right. Everybody clear with what the change in the new addition is? Yeah, I'll roll call.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Surback?
Yes.
Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah.
Mrs. Georgiana?
Yes, everything, for 56, is for 57.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Pease?
Yes.
Mrs. Mount?
Yes.
Mr. P?
Yes. C, student personnel, number 1 and 2, I need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All right, I'll roll call.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Surback? Yes. Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah.
Mrs. Georgiana?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Pease?
Yes.
Mrs. Mount?
Yes.
Mr. P?
Yes. D, special services, number 1, 2, and 3, need a motion. Any discussion?
Can we explain the 2 out of districts at this 2020 school year?
So it's for the 23-24 school year.
Okay.
So this is for ESY, and then they'll remain in that basis moving forward for the next school year.
Anyone else? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Surback? Yes. Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah.
Mrs. Georgiana?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Pease?
Yes.
Mrs. Mount?
Yes.
Mr. P?
Yes. E, athletics, number 1 and 2, need a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? I guess I'll have to answer, sorry, when's the next football game, is the question we're asking. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Surback? Yes. Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah.
Mrs. Georgiana?
Yeah.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Pease?
Yes.
Mrs. Mount? Mr. P?
Yes. Section 3A, finance, number 1 through 5, need a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for roll call.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mrs. Surback? Yes. Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah.
Mrs. Georgiana?
Yes.
Ms. Weinstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Pease?
Yes.
Mr. Mount?
Yes.
And Mr. P?
Yes. All right, we'll now open the floor for public comment on any item. We do ask that you limit yourself to 3 minutes, please, and please step up to the mic if you have anything you'd like to share.
I would like to say something as a community member. As Dr. Severin said, Manchester has heart, as many of you are aware. I tragically lost my brother-in-law, and I just want to publicly thank the Board of Ed, Central Administration, and staff for all the love and support that you showed my family and my brother-in-law's stepchildren and daughter. So thank you for helping us through this rough time.
So sorry for your loss. And it's probably also a public place that I'd like to give here special consideration to the Hawley family. Mr. Hawley passed away. Mr. Hawley was a long-time volunteer. Mrs. Hawley was a teacher in 5 years. But Mr. Hawley was very instrumental in getting the smokehouse from the fire department, all the recommendations we did over the years. And it really started this public service and it's familiar with what happens if there's a fire and doing those kinds of things. It was quite unexpected that he passed on, so we do another volunteering and the work that he did with children in Manchester. Always with a smile, he will, it was always with a smile.
I just have to add something too. Mr. Hawley is my brother-in-law's marker is here. There's somebody in between Mr. Hawley's, like, I want to say Robinson, the military.
All right, anyone else? All right, call for a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll see you in July.